Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thank you for tuning in and following me as I explore this amazing, wonderful, wide world of pens that we are very fortunate to be able to observe, acquire the many varieties of pens that are around the world. And this one is worthy of a turntable, and what the elegant look deserves a little bit of a different stand on the turntable. Yes, it's a platinum pocket pen in a vertical stripe pattern. I saw this on eBay by a seller who seems to be selling a lot of these, and it was a reasonable price, and they said it had a soft nib. So we're going to explore this pen, and this is the as received condition. We'll look at it as received, and then I'll polish it up a little bit, spiff it up, make it look a little nicer, but it's in good shape. I'm very happy with my purchase. I've gotten a lot of nice pens from eBay. Stay tuned. So the first thing that I noticed and liked about this pen is it has a little bit more weight to it than the normal all plastic pocket pens. To me, it feels nicer in the hand. I like the clip design. I think those vertical stripes are nice. Yes, the pen is a little dirty, but it's 30, 40 years old, maybe more. It's not sterling, it's not marked at all. And I guess it's some kind of gunmetal or whatever you want to call it. But I think it'll clean up great. Comes apart really easily. And you see that classic design, inlaid nib. I flushed it, cleaned out very well. The pen arrived in excellent condition. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take one of my polishing pads, clean it up, and show it to you in that cleaned up state. So I used my trusty polishing pad, cleaned up the pen, also used a soft brush and some soap and water. I think it cleaned up really well. It's not going to be perfect. It is almost in the vintage family. I'm very strict on my term vintage. It's a cartridge converter, or it's just a cartridge pen. I also cleaned up the nib a little bit, so it looks even nicer. So I think we're ready to fill the cartridge with some ink and test out this nib, which the seller said was soft, so let's do the thumb test. Yeah, it's a little soft. Certainly not a flex nib in any stretch of the imagination, but put some ink in it, put nib to paper, and see how it writes. Stay tuned. So what ink to put in the pen? Well, this ink called out to me. I haven't used it in quite a while. I bought it at a pen show from Anderson Pens. And yes, it's a pigmented ink from Platinum, going into a platinum pen. When I first got the bottle out, there was a lot of sediment. The pigment had settled, so I did a lot of shaky to get it distributed. Wiping off the top of the bottle, we'll see a very dark brown, it looks like. Interesting to see how to work in the nib. I am taking a risk with this ink in that pen, but I have confidence. So let me just say right off is I like the way the pen writes. I like the way it feels in my hand. And I'm surprised, happily surprised, that this platinum pigmented sepia ink really works well in the pen. Nice sepia color, decent amount of shading. I would call the nib a little soft. It bounces a little bit, but you know, takes a lot of pressure to just get a little bit of spread in the tines. You don't want to spring it, so I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on it, and it's decently wet. So overall, I'm extremely pleased with the pen and how it writes. It exceeds my expectations, and they were pretty high to begin with. So there's not much to take apart in this platinum pen. You know, this blind cap, whatever you want to call it, barrel, unscrews from this very long section. And you have a very long cap. The stripes are in good shape. Nice stiff spring-loaded clip, nice and sturdy. I haven't done anything to clean up the pen. I'll do that later. So one of the things that I find frustrating about these designs is here's a platinum cartridge that I emptied out because it was old and it didn't have much ink left in it. That steel ball settles down at the end, which to me is pretty bad. And the cartridge fits nice in there. And of course, when you screw down the cap, as you can see, there's hardly any gap there. And what's frustrating to me, as I mentioned earlier, redundancy is my middle name. If you take a platinum converter, you'll see the difference in length between the converter and the cartridge is minimal. So they could have done one of two things. They could have made a shorter converter, or they could have made this cap slightly longer. Why? I have no idea. But that's the nature of the beast. Yes, I did flush this very well. There was no ink in it. The pen was in good shape. We've gone into a little bit of a dark mode. We're going to see if we can look inside the cap and see there's just a plastic liner in there. You know, it clutches that section. Yeah, we'll see how well it works. My experience with these pens have not been the best. So you may say, Chris, we've seen these short Japanese pens before on your channel, and I'll go, yes. I did go on a little bit of a buying spurge because the pricing was great. So I got this Pilot Elite, which is the one that most people prefer. Here's another platinum one. Interesting little different design. And of course now the striped one. You can see they're all basically the same length, more or less. Same type of section, which we'll look at in a minute. So if ever a pen was designed to be written with posted, it's this design. They're almost all exactly the same length posted. That Pilot inlaid nib is certainly impressive. This one's a little small, and this platinum one is in between the two. Very long sections on all three. Talk about mimicking the design. I think I looked and tried to find who was first with this design. Sailor also makes one too, which I showed in a previous video. So here we are with a close-up look at the nib. The Pilot definitely is the bigger one. This one's about half the size in this platinum, and this one's midway in between. So there was a lot of variation, at least on the platinum side, in the inlaid nibs that they used in their pens. So now it's time to sum up the review, give you some editorial comments. So my editorial comment is, I like the pen. I like it more than I expected to. I think it feels good in the hand. I really like the feel of metal in this pen than the plastic on the other versions of the short pens, like the Elite from Pilot and the other Platinums that I have. And the nib writes really well. And I did nothing to it. Didn't expect to. So that's it. So, you know, if this is a pen that intrigues you, look around. The Pilot Elites command a little bit of a higher price, but you can still find some at a decent price if you're willing to look around and trust a used pen, or buy a new one. They're not that expensive. So let's do a final writing, sum it up, and say adieu. So there we go. Nice nib, great writer, enjoyable pen. So we've come to the conclusion of this review. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. The few that are still watching. Hope this video finds everyone safe, healthy, and happy, enjoying your pens, coming across to find something that's nice. Yes, and you see I'm writing with it, not posted, which I can do. I'm adaptable. So we've reached the end, and we will say bye. Enjoyable, yes. Keep the nib on paper.